All right. Richard Kaufman, I've been looking forward to meeting you because we share a mutual friend, Jim Brown.
Yes, we do.
NBC Los Angeles.
And I've been looking forward to meeting you too, because he's talked about you before.
Well, thank you. The Halloween costume, let me start again. The Halloween concerts, I think, are such a super idea. But what is the idea behind the concerts?
The idea behind the concerts, first of all, is that the Dallas Symphony Orchestra is one of the great symphony orchestras in the world. Whatever music we play, whether Andrew Litton, the music director, is conducting, or myself, or guest conductors, that we always present great music played as well as an audience will hear it anywhere. On the Pops, we have a lot of opportunities to play many different kinds of music, whether it's light classic or film music or Broadway. And Halloween gives us a chance to go from The Night on Bald Mountain to the music that we're premiering this weekend from The Thing, also Murder on the Orient Express, music from Batman, Close Encounters of a Third Kind. So we have an opportunity to present all of this music played magnificently by these wonderful musicians of the Dallas Symphony. We also add the costumes, which we started doing a couple of years ago, where the orchestra comes in costume. Rather fascinating costumes. I will say I've done several double takes when I've walked on stage, but that never keeps them from playing in a great way. So we have a lot of fun. The whole idea is for the audience to enjoy themselves when they come here, whether it's hearing a Mahler symphony, or at a Halloween concert, or a Broadway weekend, or hearing a great piano soloist, that people can come to the Meyerson and get away from everything and have a wonderful time with music and, of course, everything else that goes with a great evening at the Symphony.
Now, you use the full Dallas Symphony Orchestra, right?
We do.
And are they only requested, or is it mandatory that they come in costume?
Actually, it is not mandatory. We sort of broached the subject about 2 years ago when we began doing this and said, look, if you'd like to come in costume, it'd be great if you wanted to do that. And I kind of expected, 10 or 12, 15 people to come in costume. And the first time we had probably 75% of the orchestra in costumes. And not just funny hats and, funny glasses. We had Chris Adkins, our principal cellist, fashioned himself an electric chair. And he had a little tin hat and wires coming out to a black box with lights on it. He had black pants and no shoes or socks. And he was playing and supposedly was being electrocuted. We had a viola player with a viola bow a la Steve Martin right through his head. One of our violinists, Susie, came dressed as her backyard. She had plants and stalks and everything, and around her waist was a white picket fence. So lots of really exciting things. Our timpanist, Cal Cherry, came as the Grim Reaper, and sickle and all. I mean, it's just incredible. And yet, with all of that, those great ideas on stage, as soon as we started playing, there was this great music, and so it's very exciting. The orchestra has a good time, but also I like to make sure that with the repertoire that they're fulfilled, that they enjoy what they're doing musically.
Do any of them resent having to do it like it's beneath their dignity?
They haven't told me if they do. I haven't received any strange notes in my dressing room. I think people who are a little, feel strange about wearing a costume on stage, they just come in their tuxedo. But I will say that after the first performance, when everybody who was not in costume saw their fellow musicians in costume, a lot more costumes appeared pretty quickly the next couple of days.
You have to select the music in a special way for the Halloween costume. I keep saying costume. You have to select the music in a certain way for the Halloween concert.
Right.
So what are we going to hear this time?
Well, I always like to have sort of a very eclectic choice of music. We're playing some of the great light classics. We're doing A Night on Bald Mountain. We're doing the Overture to Die Fledermaus. We are going to play a piece by Khachaturian called Masquerade from the Masquerade Suite. And then we're doing film music. As I said, we're going to premiere the music from the film The Thing by Dmitri Tiomkin. We're doing Danny Elfman's music from Batman, John Williams' music from Close Encounters. We're going to be playing music from Hansel and Gretel when they're lost deep in the forest. That's sort of Halloweenish, I suppose. And Richard Rodney Bennett's score for Murder on the Orient Express. So there are a lot of different kinds of music that we're doing, and it's a lot of fun to to choose it. We also have within the orchestra the instrument called the theremin, which is going to be played on The Thing, and also we're doing the world concert premiere of High Anxiety, Mel Brooks' film, doing the music from that, and the theremin will be heard on that. Dr. Robert Froehner, who lives in Dallas, plays it. It's the only instrument where you actually never touch the instrument. It's all done by sound waves and voodoo or something like that. But it's quite exciting, and he'll be on stage, and a lot of times the audience, you know, just stares and tries to figure out how he's doing all of this. But it's a lot of fun to choose this.
Are these audiences different?
Well, in a sense, I suppose they are, but really they just, every time we do a Pops concert, we just like to make sure that the audience hears great music and has a good time, no matter what it is. Whether our guest artists are there or not, we're doing a Broadway weekend coming up. We're doing Academy Awards weekend with Academy Award-winning music, which is just the orchestra. We had Roger Williams. We're going to be having Bernadette Peters and Patti LuPone. And so I like to think that whenever the audience is here, they're having a good time. So I don't sense that there's a difference. I think they come hopefully wondering what it'll be this time and what surprises we'll have, and if we're doing a world concert premiere, as we have done. We premiered music from Titanic and The English Patient and Shakespeare in Love. So we like to do a lot of fun things, and hopefully the audience comes with expectations of great music, but even things beyond that they may not already be aware of.
You have done so much with film music. Do you still have time to do that?
Oh yeah, I actually just began my 17th year at MGM, and I love it. It's great music, but it's also a different art form, and I've done it for a long time. Very fortunate to work with and become friends with great musicians, composers like John Williams and Jerry Goldsmith, and it gives me another dimension to my life in music that I hopefully can bring to the symphony and to the hall here, and exposing the musicians to some of this music, whether it's classic film music, Gone with the Wind, Friendly Persuasion, whatever, Dr. Zhivago, but also new film music and premiering music, which we like to do, not just for the sake of playing music for the first time, but playing great music that has never been heard in the concert hall. And we're very excited, for example, in January, the first weekend in January, on the first half of a concert that will have Patti LuPone as our guest artist on the second half. The first half will pay tribute to Elmer Bernstein, great film composer, who wrote music for To Kill a Mockingbird, The Walk on the Wild Side, The Magnificent Seven, The Great Escape. Elmer is beginning his 50th year in writing film music. And Elmer will be here with us, and he will conduct the music from The Magnificent Seven on that concert. So to have a great film composer travel here and work with this great symphony orchestra, to me is very exciting, and I think for the audience is too. I hope it is.
And I should think that he would be doing it quite a lot as a favor to you and at your invitation, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, but Elmer's a great guy, and one of the, a mentor certainly of mine, and someone who has done so much great music, and people are familiar with the films that he's done. A lot of people don't know the names of the composers, but if you say Gone with the Wind, they say, oh, I love that music. But if you say who wrote the music, they wouldn't say Max Steiner. But so it's exciting things like that that I think separate our pop series from others, but never just for the sake of being different, always for the sake of high quality, and especially to bring excitement to the musicians in the orchestra. I want them to really enjoy what they're doing. And they play anything. I mean, a lot of symphonies just play very sort of tenuously, or they don't really attack film music the way they attack great classical music. But this orchestra has a gift for passion and really digging down inside the pieces. And for a conductor, I mean, I tend to be part of the audience also, while they're playing. It's just so exciting for me to work with them.
Your instrument is the violin.
Right.
And do we ever get to hear you play the violin?
Well, if you are at my house in the den every once in a while, you might be able to hear me, trying to play the violin. No, I started out as a violinist when I was 7 and ended up playing in the studios for about 9 years. And it really led to my interest in film music a great deal, working with different people. I played on scores like Jaws and Close Encounters and Animal House. So I had a really good time working, under these great conductors and great composers. So if you get the soundtracks of some of those films, yeah, I suppose, hopefully you can't hear me. I'd be in big trouble if you could hear me.
Okay. I think our time is fairly limited here, isn't it?
Not for me.
Oh, okay.
I have lots of time.
Of course, this story will be pegged on the Halloween aspect of it. But when you're doing your Broadway and your film, I would love to do a story about that, because both of those are major interests of mine.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Would it be better to wait and do those interviews at that time?
Probably. I'll have more of an idea of what we're doing musically at that time. I'm hoping to, on the Academy Awards weekend, to premiere a couple of things that haven't been done from films in the past year. I have to see what's available, and also at that time to play music from the nominated films. Of course, we don't know what that is yet.
No, we don't.
But
well, if we could just make a tentative
anytime,
date
absolutely.
for that would be another wonderful story for us. I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
Well, Richard, thank you so much. We finally got to meet, and it's been a pleasure.
For me too.
And it'll be the first of many, I hope.
I hope so. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The other thing I will tell you that we're doing that has not officially been announced yet, we're commissioning a piece of music. This is not for publication yet.
Okay.
We're commissioning a piece of music. I wanted to do that strictly for the Pops. And it's going to be a narrative piece, because there aren't a lot of great narrative pieces of music, based on Casey at the Bat.
Oh, fabulous.
And Randall Bass, who has composed a lot for the Symphony, and we hear his music here at Christmas and all. He's writing this piece. And a friend of mine, you mentioned Jim Brown. Well, the first time I met, so I went and met him, and we became close friends and have been for 25 years. And he loves baseball. So we've always been trying to figure out what we can do together, and this will give it away. And I told him, a long time, I said, well, I don't turn letters. I said, and you don't conduct an orchestra or play the violin, so let's figure out something. And we finally figured out for him to come narrate this. So Pat Sajak is going to come and narrate Casey at the Bat.
Oh, that would be great.
And he's actually taping Wheel of Fortune here in March. They're going to do the show here middle of March.
That will be wonderful.
So he's very excited about that.
And when does that have to be in?
April 13th and 14th. It's Easter weekend.
Oh, Easter weekend. Okay.
It's Friday night and Saturday night.
Okay, but he'll be in earlier to do rehearsals.
He'll be in like Wednesday.
You know the drill. You know, you start to answer and then I wave you off.
Right.
And we're not recording your sound. Just
Sure.
fine. Okay. Richard Kaufman, what is the idea behind these Halloween concerts?
The idea of Halloween is to make as much money as we can as quickly as we can.
I love it.
You better not use that.
No. Don't worry. You're safe. You're safe. Okay.
I almost said and do it with our clothes on.
Do the musicians approach this kind of concert with any kind of enthusiasm for the music?
I hope so. We love to have the enthusiasm from the orchestra, so that they not only have a good time, but musically there's a lot of in-depth playing to do there.
Is it mandatory for the musicians to come in costume?
No, we actually really enjoy having them come in costume, but it's an option, and they have enjoyed it more and more over the years.
Looking back on past concerts, what are some of the costumes that the musicians wore?
There have been some extraordinary costumes. Our principal cellist, Chris Atkins.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
You should see some of the costumes.
Oh,
We
I
had
can't wait. I
Tom
can't wait.
Hall, the second trumpet, came as a cow, and it was that thing that you wear with these big udders right out in front of his stomach. And I actually had him stand up so the audience could see it. I was so amazed, you know, that he would do that.
Okay. Oh, I didn't ask you about your costume.
It's a secret.
Oh, it's a secret. Okay, I'll
Yes.
have to say that. Okay. You must have to select special music for this kind of concert. What do you have planned?
We are doing a very eclectic program. Film music, light classics, a lot of music that the audience will be familiar with and some which they will not have heard, including the concert premiere of music from The Thing by Dmitri Tiomkin.
I can't wait for that.
Actually, the official title is The Thing from Another World.
And the theremin.
And the theremin player, Robert Froehner, that's right.
Yeah, I was wondering. I'm glad you mentioned him because I was wondering. I know there are some around here, but I was wondering.
Very few in the world.
You wouldn't have anyone in the orchestra, of course, who would be doing
No,
that.
and we're just incredibly fortunate that he's here. I asked him to stay, and he left because I thought you might want to even, you know, see that. But
Yeah.
I guess he's not.
Well,
You'll see him in the concert.
yeah.
He's right there. In case, just so you know, where the brown box is next to the harp.
Yes,
That
okay.
is the theremin.
Okay, fine.
In fact,
Okay.
I'm going to take you up there and play in a second.
Oh, all right. Okay, Steve,
I
I
can
think
turn it
that'll do it.
And I was going to come up and try to turn it on.
Oh, I have it disconnected.
Oh, I'm so glad you're still here. Bobbie, be real careful going up there. Let me help you.
Just need something for
You ought to get a
balance.
shot of Bobbie playing it.
Can I just put this stuff here?
Sure, absolutely. Right on top of the cellist, that's right. And then just walk right up here. Take my hand. Our thereminist. And don't step backwards.
No, I won't. Is it
Okay.
F-R-A-N-E-R?
That's how you pronounce it, but Texas.
Yes, yes.
Let's see here.
I have seen these used at rock concerts.
Really?
Yes,
Theremins?
I think so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like Fish and Fishbone and Captain Beefheart and
Really? Have they done that?
some of those use
I didn't
theremins,
know
but they
that.
use it mainly to, for weird.
Yes, yeah.
Sound
I don't
effects
think they really
and
play it
whatnot.
as such, do they?
Let me get out of your way.
Take just a second before you start here.
Steve, what?
I should have had it on warming up.
Yeah. Play High Anxiety.
Oh.
Theremin pillow, I guess. Let's see. Let's try this.
Can you explain what you're doing
Right.
as you play?
It's working strictly off the electricity of my body. There are 2 high-frequency radio oscillators in here, and the electricity of my body will detune one of them enough, and then the difference between the two can be amplified through my amplifier and is in the audible range through the speaker. So that by varying the distance of this hand, the pitch hand, between my chest and this vertical antenna, the pitch antenna, it'll change the pitch.
Can you say it in English?
The bass notes are closer to my chest, and the treble notes are out here towards the antenna. And then this hand controls the volume. So up is going to increase the loudness, and then down is going to turn it off. So by doing that rapidly, I can separate the notes. And then, of course, the famous sound that's associated with the theremin are the wide sweeping sounds, the portamento or glissando type effects that you hear in all of the science fiction movies of the 1950s and early 1960s. It's sort of like this.
Are these
Getting his reaction.
Oh.
Okay, go ahead.
are these instruments custom built, or can you go in and buy one?
This one was built for me, but they are available that way, and there are some smaller theremins that are available as kit form that can be assembled by someone at home. This is not one of the original theremins that were made by RCA from 1929 to the early 30s. This is a new model that was made by Bob Moog a couple of years ago.
What would be the approximate cost of one?
The kits range anywhere from approximately $350 to $400, and a full model like this is, by the time you have all your equipment and stuff, is going to be close to $4,000.
What got you interested?
Actually, I'm a saw player. That's my start in the music field, and it makes a similar sound to the theremin. And so my brother and I used to make the flying saucer type, Halloween type noises with the saw back when I was growing up. So I took that a step further and continued with my saw playing, and I have actually performed here with the Dallas Symphony several years ago. And then it was only natural when I found out about theremins that I moved up to it, since it's a similar sound, and I refer to it sometimes as my electric saw. So they go hand in hand, and both create a lot of interest and curiosity.
What kind of a score do they give you?
Score is pretty much the typical notation that you see in most pieces of music, except, like I say, there's a lot of those sliding type notes, the portamento and glissandi, that are typical of theremin, but there's no special notation or anything like that that's generally used for a theremin part.
Does the weather, or are there other factors that can enter into it?
All of that does. Anything close by, whether it's an inanimate object like a wall or a music stand or several people standing around, that all affects the pitch and qualities of the theremin. Humidity and temperature do as well. So there are a lot of physical factors you have to take into account as you tune it, and actually during the performance you have to constantly be tuning it because of changes in temperature and whatnot, or the number of musicians who happen to be around.
And when you're tuning it, what's happening?
I'm adjusting the range between my chest and the antenna for the optimal playing arc of my hand, so that my notes are pretty much the same distance apart consistently. It's easier to learn. If it was tuned different each time, then the distance between the notes would be different, and it'd be hard hard to learn. It's already hard enough to learn.
When you're tuning it, are you going through a series of special notes or what?
I'm mainly just marking the range, the bottom limit of it and the upper limit of it, and then I set that for the distance where I'm going to be standing, and then in between is going to be the optimal range. For instance, I'll set the lowest note down here near my chest. It's so low you can actually hear the separate beats of the sound. That's called pitch shifting. And then of course it gets real high. It has about an 8-octave range. It'll go higher than that, but my speaker probably won't. It gets softer. Your turn.
That is fabulous.
Okay,
Thank
Bobbie,
you
you're about to
so
become a thereminist.
much.
Well, come up and try it.
You're the new
You can't hurt it.
thereminist.
You don't have to touch it.
All right.
Now,
You're the new member of the Dallas Symphony theremin section.
think of this as a clutch.
All right.
You have to let off a little bit to get it going, so put your
Okay.
hand over it.
Okay.
Anytime you move your hand away now, it's going to sound.
Okay.
Point towards the antenna over there. Okay, now raise your clutch a little bit to get going.
Bravo! Bravo! That's great.
That is incredible. Thank you,
You
so
bet.
much.
Thank you.
What a great story. That'll be a separate story.
It will be. You know, that just
You know, in concert.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
of course, we won't get that tonight, but,
Yeah.
but they can get that tomorrow.
but
I had Robert come out to California during the summer, and we did the Spellbound Concerto with the Pacific Symphony. He flew out for that. It's just a great music. See, the thing is, first, he's a great musician. Secondly, he knows that he's introduced us to for theremin and orchestra.